You don't lose to the world, you lose to yourself. That single truth has broken more dreams than failure ever could. Most people aren't stuck because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They're stuck because of what's happening inside their own head. The quiet battles no one sees. The hesitation that whispers, "Do it tomorrow." The fear that says, "You're not ready." The comfort that convinces you, you've already done enough. These thoughts sound harmless, but they slowly drain your potential day after day until your fire becomes a flicker. You know what that feels like, the weight of knowing you could do more but choosing not to. That silent frustration that comes from breaking promises to yourself. This isn't about being lazy or unmotivated. It's about recognizing the 5 enemies that quietly pull you backward while you think you're standing still. This message isn't a pep talk, it's a mirror. It will make you look at yourself differently. You'll start to notice the small decisions, the quiet thoughts, the tiny moments where progress dies without making a sound. And once you see them, you can destroy them. If you've ever felt like you're capable of more but something keeps holding you back, stay right here. Because after this, you'll never think about progress the same way again. You'll know exactly what's been stealing it and how to take it back. Number 1, fight the enemy of comfort by doing what feels uncomfortable. Comfort is a liar. It tells you that you are fine where you are, that you've earned a break, that tomorrow will be the right time to start again. But comfort is not your friend. It's the quiet voice that slows your progress, that makes you settle for less than you're capable of, that convinces you that staying safe is the same as being happy. Every person who ever achieved something worthwhile had to fight the pull of comfort. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Most people don't fail because they aren't smart or talented. They fail because they stop pushing when things start to feel uncomfortable. They stop when it hurts, when they're tired, when it's not convenient. Growth never comes from what's easy. Progress happens when you push through the things you don't want to face, when you wake up earlier than you feel like, when you make the hard call, when you sit in silence and deal with your truth. The mind is wired to seek comfort. It wants safety, routine, and control. That's why every time you try to grow, it fights you. It gives you thoughts that sound reasonable. I'll do it later. I'm not ready. This is too much right now. But the truth is, the longer you listen to those thoughts, the stronger they become. The more you choose comfort, the weaker your will gets. And when the will fades, so does your progress. The uncomfortable moments, that's where progress hides. The first time you walk into the gym after years of neglecting your body. The moment you admit to someone that you messed up. The day you finally stop scrolling and start working on your goals. Those moments sting because they challenge your ego. They force you to face the gap between who you are and who you could be. But that discomfort is the path. It's not a punishment. It's an invitation to become more. The problem is that comfort doesn't show its damage right away. It's sneaky. It rewards you short term and punishes you later. Skip the workout today, and you feel relief now, but regret next week. Avoid the tough conversation, and you save tension today, but lose trust later. Stay in the job you hate, and you feel secure now, but empty years down the road. Comfort trades your future for temporary peace. It's the most expensive deal you'll ever make. If you want progress, you must train yourself to do what's uncomfortable on purpose. Wake up and move your body even when you don't feel like it. Speak your truth even when your voice shakes. Take action before you think you're ready. It's not about punishment, it's about discipline. Discipline is not suffering, it's self-respect in action. It's you saying, I'm worth the effort. My future deserves more than my excuses. Every time you choose discomfort, something powerful happens. You build confidence. Real confidence doesn't come from people telling you you're good enough. It comes from doing the hard things you once avoided. It comes from showing yourself you can handle more than you thought. The first time it's hard. The second time, it's still hard. But the third, fourth, 10th time, it starts to feel different. You start to trust yourself. You start to expect more from yourself. Most people look for motivation. They want to feel ready before they move. But waiting for motivation is another form of comfort. The truth is, action comes first. Feelings come after. You act your way into motivation, not the other way around. You don't have to feel strong to start. You just have to start. Because once you move, Once you take that small, uncomfortable step, momentum begins to build. Think about the moments in your life when you were proud of yourself. They all came after doing something difficult. Maybe you finished a tough project, broke a bad habit, stood up for yourself, or started over after failure. None of those moments felt easy at the start, but when you pushed through, the pride was real, deep, and lasting. That's because pride only comes after discomfort. If you never struggle, you never grow. If you never grow, you never feel alive. We live in a world that sells comfort as happiness, faster delivery, easier jobs, instant entertainment. But the more comfortable we get, the weaker we become. The less we challenge ourselves, the more fragile we feel. You don't toughen your mind by sitting still. You toughen it by facing friction every day. If you avoid discomfort for too long, even small challenges start to feel unbearable. The people who move ahead in life are not the ones who never feel fear. They're the ones who act even when fear is loud. They've learned that fear is not a signal to stop, it's a sign they're in the right place. When you feel fear, it means you're touching the edge of growth. You can either step back into safety or step forward into progress. The choice defines your future. Sometimes comfort isn't just about rest, it's about hiding. People stay comfortable because it protects their identity. If you don't try, you can't fail. If you don't risk, you can't get hurt. But hiding also means you can't win. You can't become the person you're meant to be if you never step into uncertainty. The world doesn't reward hiding. It rewards effort, courage, and persistence. You might say, but what if I fail? You will. Everyone does. Failure isn't the enemy. It's feedback. Each time you fail, you learn what doesn't work. That's how growth works. Discomfort, failure, adjustment, and progress. The real failure is staying stuck because you refuse to face the discomfort of trying again. To fight comfort, you have to change what you value. Stop asking, what's easy? And start asking, what helps me grow? That one question changes everything. It shifts your focus from pleasure to purpose. It turns your attention from comfort to progress. When your purpose is strong enough, you'll choose discomfort willingly because you understand what's on the other side: strength, confidence, and peace of mind. Every day gives you a choice. You can either feed comfort or feed growth. Comfort feels good now but takes from you later. Growth feels hard now but gives to you later. Every time you push through, you deposit something in your personal account: self-respect, pride, belief. And one day, when life hits hard, you'll draw from that account and realize you've built real strength. Start small. You don't need to change your life overnight. You just need to start making decisions that stretch you. If waking up earlier feels uncomfortable, do it anyway. If saving money feels restrictive, do it anyway. If speaking up feels scary, do it anyway. Each small act of discomfort builds a bigger version of you. You'll notice something interesting once you live this way. The discomfort that once scared you starts to feel normal. What used to drain you now builds you. The things that made you nervous become your new baseline. That's growth in action. That's progress. But if you stop, if you slip back into comfort, the opposite happens. Your tolerance for challenge shrinks. Your energy fades. You start to doubt yourself again. That's why you have to stay alert. Comfort will always come back to test you. It'll whisper, "You've done enough." That's the moment you have to say, "Not yet. I'm not finished. Not yet." You're not fighting comfort because you hate rest. You're fighting it because you love your potential. There's a difference between rest and escape. Rest restores you. Escape drains you. Learn the difference and choose wisely. Rest, recover, then get back in the ring. Progress isn't built in huge leaps. It's built in small, uncomfortable choices made every day. The kind that no one sees. The kind that don't get applause. You build yourself in private long before the results show up in public. That's why it matters what you do when no one is watching. One day, you'll look back and realize that everything you wanted came from moments that once scared you. That conversation you didn't want to have. That opportunity you almost turned down. That day you wanted to quit but didn't. Those are the moments that shape you. So today, fight the enemy of comfort. Not with talk, not with plans, but with action. Do the thing that makes your stomach tighten a little. Make the call, send the message, start the work. Discomfort isn't a punishment, it's proof you're alive, proof you're trying, proof you're growing. Comfort may feel like peace, but it's the kind that slowly kills your dreams. Progress feels uncomfortable, but it's the kind that brings you to life. Choose the discomfort that builds you over the comfort that breaks you. Because your future self is waiting on the other side of discomfort, stronger, wiser, and proud that you didn't back down. Number 2, crush the enemy of doubt by proving yourself through action. Doubt is a thief that steals your strength before you even begin. It creeps into your thoughts and whispers that you might not have what it takes. It tells you that others are better, smarter, more experienced, more deserving, and when you listen, it wins. It convinces you to wait, to hold back, to shrink from opportunities that were meant for you. But doubt is not destroyed by thinking, wishing, or hoping. Doubt only disappears when you prove it wrong through action. Every person who has achieved something worthwhile has had to face doubt. Not once, but many times. They didn't overcome it by talking themselves into confidence. They overcame it by doing something about it. Action builds proof, and proof silences doubt. When you move, even if you're scared, your brain sees results. Maybe small, maybe messy, but real. And the moment your mind sees evidence that you're capable, doubt begins to lose its power. You can't wait for confidence to arrive before you act. Confidence doesn't come before the action. It comes after. Most people get this backwards. They say, I'll start when I feel ready. But readiness never shows up. Doubt will always be there, waiting to hold you back. You become ready by doing, not by thinking. The mind respects results, not intentions. The more you act, the more your mind begins to trust you. When you take action, something shifts inside. The voices of insecurity grow quieter because you're too busy doing something about them. You don't give them the space to take over. Each step you take builds new evidence that you're capable. You're teaching your brain a new truth, that you can handle uncertainty, that you can push through resistance, that you're not who your doubts say you are. Doubt loves stillness. It feeds on hesitation. The longer you sit still, the louder it grows. That's why you can't afford to overthink every move. Every minute you spend analyzing whether you can do something is another minute you could have spent proving that you can. Action cuts through overthinking like nothing else. When you move, you replace "what if I fail" with "here's what I learned." That's real power. Think about the first time you tried something new. Maybe a new job, a new skill, or a new goal. You didn't know what you were doing, and your mind filled with doubt. But when you pushed through and did it anyway, something changed. You realized that most of what you feared never happened. That realization is what builds strength. You can't think your way to that kind of understanding. You can only earn it through experience. Doubt often hides behind excuses. I'm not ready. I don't have time. I need more information. Those words sound reasonable, but they're not. They're doubt wearing a disguise. The truth is, no one ever feels ready for what truly matters. Readiness is a myth used to protect us from discomfort. You'll never have all the answers, all the support, or all the certainty you want, but you don't need them. You need movement. Movement gives clarity. Every step you take, even if it's small, teaches you something. You learn what works, what doesn't, what needs to change. The people who make progress aren't the ones who had no doubt. They're the ones who acted while doubt was screaming at them. They used action as their weapon, not emotion. When doubt controls your choices, it slowly builds a wall around your potential. It limits your effort, your creativity, your future. You start to believe that your life is supposed to stay small, but that's not true. The walls are imaginary. You built them through inaction, and just as you built them, you can tear them down by moving. One small, bold step at a time. You'll notice something interesting when you start taking consistent action. Your inner voice changes. The same mind that used to question you begins to support you. It starts to say, maybe I can do this. Then I am doing this. And finally, I was made for this. That's the transformation action brings. It rewires your thinking. You stop being your own obstacle and start becoming your own evidence. People often think confidence comes from talent. It doesn't. Confidence comes from proof. If you've done something before, you know you can do it again. That's why even small victories matter. They give you proof to lean on the next time doubt shows up. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to move, despite the fear, long enough to show yourself you're capable. It's easy to think that doubt means you're weak, but it doesn't. Doubt means you're human. It's a natural reaction when you care about something deeply. The mistake is not feeling doubt. The mistake is letting it decide your actions. Courage doesn't mean the absence of fear or doubt. It means you act while they're still there. You've got to remember, the mind learns from what you show it, not what you tell it. If you keep telling yourself you'll fail, your brain finds proof to match that belief. But if you start showing yourself small wins, finishing a task, keeping a promise, making progress, your brain adjusts. It starts to see you as capable, competent, and trustworthy. You build a reputation with yourself. And that's where real confidence begins. Action gives you power in ways that nothing else can. When you act, you're in control. When you sit in doubt, you're a victim of your own thought. Every time you take a step forward, even if it's messy or uncertain, you remind yourself that you're not helpless. You're in charge of your direction. And once you feel that sense of control, doubt starts to fade because it has no room to survive. You might wonder, what if I take action and fail? You might, but failure is not a confirmation of doubt. It's the opposite. Failure proves you were brave enough to try. It gives you information you can't get any other way. You learn what needs to change, and that's valuable. You can't fix what you never attempt. The only real failure is staying stuck because you were too afraid to start. Every action you take sends a signal to your mind about who you are. When you avoid challenges, you tell your mind that you can't handle them. When you step forward despite fear, you tell your mind that you're stronger than you thought. Over time, those signals become your identity. You start to act like someone who gets things done, someone who finishes, someone who doesn't back down. The truth is, no one is confident all the time. Everyone deals with doubt, even those who seem unstoppable. The difference is that they've learned to keep moving anyway. They've learned that motion is medicine for doubt. The more you move, the less power your doubts have. They may still whisper, but they no longer control you. If you want to crush doubt, stop arguing with it. Doubt is persuasive. It will always have reasons. Reasons that sound logical, reasonable, even protective. But logic won't save you from regret. You can't win an argument against your fears. You have to outwork them. You have to prove them wrong by doing the very thing they told you you couldn't. When you do that, something incredible happens. The same situation that once triggered fear becomes a source of pride. You look back and think, I can't believe I almost didn't. That's how personal growth works. The moments that once scared you become the moments that define you. Think of someone who inspires you. An athlete, a leader, a creator, a parent, anyone who's achieved something great. They didn't start confident. They started uncertain, just like you. But they kept showing up. They kept doing what needed to be done, even when no one believed in them. They built proof through effort, and that proof became confidence. Doubt says, you can't. Action says, watch me. Every day you have the choice to side with one of them. Some days doubt will feel heavier. Some days you'll feel like quitting. That's normal. The key is to move anyway. Not perfectly, not quickly, but consistently. Because every consistent action chips away at the wall of doubt until it eventually collapses. Your life changes the moment you stop waiting to feel certain. You don't need certainty. You need courage. Certainty is built over time, through repetition and effort. If you wait for it, you'll waste years. But if you move now, you'll start creating. Action gives you evidence, and evidence gives you faith in yourself. That's how progress really works. You might feel unqualified, unprepared, or unworthy. Everyone feels that way at some point. But those feelings aren't facts, they're fears. The only way to test them is by moving. Once you act, you'll see how wrong doubt was about you. And when that happens, you'll start to build an unshakable belief in yourself. Not because someone told you to believe, but because you earned it. Progress doesn't happen in big, dramatic bursts.
It happens in small, brave choices made in moments of doubt. Waking up early when you want to sleep in. Making a call when you're scared of rejection. Speaking up when your voice trembles. Each one of those moments is proof. Proof that you're more than your hesitation. Proof that you're capable. Proof that doubt doesn't decide your future. You do. So when doubt shows up, and it will, treat it as a signal, not a stop sign. It means you're doing something new, something meaningful, something that matters. You don't need to get rid of it. You just need to outwork it. Doubt thrives in silence, but it dies in motion. Keep moving, keep proving, keep showing yourself what's possible. Because every action you take is another strike against the enemy of doubt. Every step you take tells your mind, every result, no matter how small, builds a foundation of belief. And one day you'll wake up and realize that the person you doubted became the person you now admire. Because you fought back not with words but with relentless action.
Number 3, defeat the enemy of excuses by taking full responsibility daily. Excuses are the easiest way to destroy your own potential. They sound harmless, they sound reasonable, but excuses are the slow poison of progress. They protect your pride, but kill your growth. Every time you say, I can't, I don't have time, or it's not my fault, you hand away your power. You tell life that you're not in control. And the truth is, as long as you keep giving reasons, you'll never give results. Excuses feel safe because they remove pressure. But the same safety that comforts you is the reason you stay stuck. Taking full responsibility means no more hiding behind circumstances. No more blaming people. No more waiting for things to be perfect. It means saying, whatever happens, I own it. That's not an easy thing to say. It requires maturity, honesty, and courage. But the moment you take full ownership, something powerful happens. You start to gain control. You can't control what happens around you, but you can always control what you do about it. When you refuse responsibility, you give your power to everything else. Your boss, your parents, your past, your mood, even the weather. You start to believe life is something that happens to you instead of something you shape. That's how people get trapped. They complain, they justify, they explain away their lack of results, and then wonder why nothing changes. The truth is simple. Until you take full responsibility, you can't change anything. Excuses have many faces. Some sound like I'm too tired. Others sound like I don't know how. Some hide behind perfection. I'll start when everything is ready. And some disguise themselves as logic. It's just not the right time. But every one of them has the same effect. They keep you from starting. They make you feel right for staying where you are. Excuses give you comfort but take away your progress. There's a moment in every person's life when they have to decide, will I keep explaining why I'm not where I want to be? Or will I start doing something about it? That decision changes everything. The people who move forward aren't luckier or more talented. They're simply done with excuses. They've realized that no one's coming to rescue them. No one's going to hand them discipline, confidence, or success. They have to create it through responsibility. When you blame others, you delay your growth. You tell yourself that something outside of you must change before you can. That's a trap. You can't fix what's outside. You can only fix what's inside. Taking responsibility doesn't mean you blame yourself for everything that goes wrong. It means you accept that your response is always your choice. You can't always choose what happens, but you can always choose how you handle it. That's the difference between victims and victors. Every time you take responsibility, you grow stronger. You stop waiting. You stop wishing. You stop depending. You begin to trust your own ability to create change. You become the kind of person who makes things happen instead of waiting for them to happen. That's what personal power feels like. Knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you have a say in the outcome. Excuses are easy because they protect your ego. They let you avoid failure without facing effort. If you don't try, you can't fail, right? But that kind of thinking destroys your self-respect. You might save your pride in the moment, but you'll pay for it with regret later. You'll look back and realize you could have done more, learned more, achieved more, but you didn't, because you kept telling stories instead of taking action. The mind gets addicted to excuses. The more you use them, the more automatic they become. You don't even notice when you're making them. You start to defend your limits instead of breaking them. That's why awareness is key. You have to catch yourself in the moment. When you hear yourself saying, I can't,
I don't have time, or it's not fair. Stop and ask, is this the truth? Or is this an excuse I've repeated so many times I've started believing it? Taking full responsibility daily isn't glamorous. It's not loud or flashy. It's waking up and doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. It's being honest about your own habits. It's saying I didn't follow through yesterday, but I will today. It's facing the mirror without excuses. It's uncomfortable, but it's also freeing. Because once you stop lying to yourself, you gain clarity. You start to see where you've been holding yourself back. And when you see it, you can fix it. People often mistake excuses for reasons. A reason explains reality. An excuse avoids it. A reason is, I'm sick and I need rest. An excuse is, I'm tired, so I'll skip it again. One accepts responsibility. The other avoids it. The difference lies in honesty. When you're honest with yourself, you know the difference between a real reason and a made-up one. And once you start calling yourself out, growth becomes inevitable. Life becomes easier when you stop waiting for someone else to make it easier. You realize that progress isn't about conditions. It's about decisions. The conditions might never be perfect. The timing, the support, the resources, but your decision can still be perfect. You can decide to act, to show up, to improve, no matter what. That's responsibility. It's not about control. It's about choice. Every day, life will hand you reasons to quit. The world is full of distractions, disappointments, and discomforts. But none of that defines you unless you let it. Responsibility means you stop giving your problems the final word. You give it to your effort instead. You start saying, I can work with this. I can learn from this. I can make it happen anyway. That's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. The refusal to give their excuses a voice. When you choose responsibility, your language changes. You stop saying they didn't help me and start saying I'll figure it out. You stop saying I can't do it and start saying I'll learn how. You stop saying it's not my fault and start saying it's still my responsibility. The words you use shape your mindset, and your mindset shapes your action. Responsibility starts in the way you talk to yourself. One of the hardest truths to accept is that you are where you are because of the choices you've made. Not the ones you wish to make, but the ones you actually made. That's not punishment. It's power. Because if your past choices built your present, your next choices can build your future. When you see it that way, responsibility stops feeling heavy and starts feeling liberating. It means you're not stuck. You have control again. Taking full responsibility doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means not blaming anyone for what's yours to handle. It means asking for help when you need it, learning when you don't know something, and admitting mistakes without excuses. Responsibility isn't about perfection. It's about ownership. You can't grow from what you deny, but once you own it, you can change it. There's real peace in responsibility. When you take ownership, you stop being at war with reality. You stop fighting the truth of where you are. Instead of blaming, you start building. Instead of defending, you start improving. You use your energy for solutions instead of complaints. That shift changes everything. Excuses may sound harmless, but they slowly destroy your belief in yourself. Every time you make one, you teach your mind that you're powerless. Every time you take responsibility, you teach it that you're capable. Over time, those lessons add up. You either become someone who always has a reason, or someone who always finds a way. No one changes until they decide that their excuses are no longer valid. That's the real turning point. When you stop defending your limitations and start fighting for your potential, life begins to move. You stop being a passenger and become the driver. You stop wishing for better days and start creating them. So stop feeding your excuses. They don't protect you. They imprison you. Start building your days on responsibility instead. When you wake up, take ownership of your choices. When things go wrong, ask what you can learn. When you fall short, admit it and adjust. That's how progress is made. One responsible decision at a time. You can't rewrite yesterday, but you can control what happens next. Excuses will always be there, waiting to pull you back, but responsibility will always be waiting to lift you higher. Choose responsibility every single day. It won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it, because once you take full responsibility for your life, no one can ever take your progress away again. Number 4, challenge the enemy of distraction.
by protecting your focus fiercely. Distraction is the silent destroyer of dreams. It doesn't yell. It doesn't announce itself. It just slowly steals your attention, piece by piece, until you forget what you were fighting for. Every time you look away from what matters, you lose a little bit of progress. Not enough to notice at first, but enough to make you wonder months later why you're still stuck in the same place. Distraction doesn't need to defeat you loudly. It only needs to keep you busy doing nothing important. Focus is one of the rarest things in the world today. Everyone talks about wanting success, but very few protect their focus long enough to create it. The truth is, distraction isn't just social media, television, or people. Distraction is anything that takes you away from your priorities. It's that urge to check your phone one more time. It's that temptation to start something new before finishing what you began. It's that moment you let noise replace purpose. You can't defeat distraction by wishing it away. You have to challenge it head on. That means deciding what deserves your time and what doesn't. Every day you wake up with a limited amount of focus. If you waste it on meaningless tasks, you'll have nothing left for what truly matters. Protect your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. The quality of your life depends on what you give your attention to. The world is full of people trying to grab your mind. Companies, apps, ads, and even other people are fighting to take a piece of your attention. If you don't learn to defend it, they'll gladly use it for their gain. The people who stay focused are not lucky. They are disciplined. They know how to say no. They know that every yes to a distraction is a no to progress. Distraction feels harmless because it feels good. Checking notifications gives you a quick hit of satisfaction. Scrolling through other people's lives gives you a sense of activity without any achievement. But that kind of pleasure has a price. It drains your focus and dulls your hunger for real goals. The more distracted you are, the more average your results become. You can't reach excellence while constantly switching your attention. Focus demands honesty. You have to ask yourself what's stealing your time. It might not be obvious, it might be small habits. Wasting minutes between tasks, saying yes to things that don't serve you, or staying busy just to avoid doing the hard work. Those small leaks add up. Protecting your focus means sealing those leaks. It means being ruthless with what you allow into your day. When you focus, you create momentum. When you're distracted, you break it. Momentum is fragile. It's built slowly but can disappear in seconds. That's why every time you check your phone in the middle of your work, you lose more than time. You lose rhythm. You lose flow. And it takes much longer to get it back. If you keep interrupting your own progress, you'll always feel like you're working hard without getting anywhere. Focus isn't about working nonstop. It's about working with intention. You can't focus all day, but you can give full attention for blocks of time. Create spaces where you don't allow interruptions. Silence notifications. Close unnecessary tabs. And let people know when you're unavailable. Your brain needs silence to think deeply. Without silence, it never gets the space to create. Distraction is easier than focus, because distraction asks nothing of you. Focus demands effort. It demands patience. It forces you to sit with boredom, with resistance, with frustration. That's why most people give up. They mistake boredom for failure. But boredom is not failure. It's a sign you're close to doing something meaningful. Stay in it long enough, and your best work appears. Protecting your focus also means protecting your environment. You can't grow in chaos. You can't think clearly when your surroundings are noisy, messy, or full of interruptions. Create a space that supports your discipline. Keep it clean, organized, and free from temptation. The environment you build becomes the foundation for your habit. Sometimes distraction comes in the form of people. Not everyone who loves you understands your goals. Some people will pull you into their drama, their negativity, their distractions. You don't owe anyone your focus. You owe it to yourself to protect it. Distance doesn't mean disrespect. It means discipline. If you spend too much time around unfocused people, you'll start living their story instead of writing your own. There's another kind of distraction that's harder to spot. The productive one. It's when you stay busy doing things that look important,
but don't actually move you forward. You clean your desk instead of finishing the project. You plan endlessly but never start. You research instead of executing. That's disguised distraction. And it's just as dangerous because it feels like progress. Always ask yourself, is this helping me grow or just keeping me busy? Your focus is not just about productivity, it's about peace. When your attention is scattered, your mind becomes anxious. You feel restless, overwhelmed, and drained. But when you focus, everything slows down. You start to feel in control. You start to enjoy your work again. You don't need to chase 100 things, you just need to give your best to the one that matters right now. You can't control how distracting the world gets, but you can control what you feed your mind. Choose what you read, what you watch, and who you listen to. The information you consume shapes your direction. Feed your mind garbage, and you'll think small. Feed it growth, truth, and purpose, and you'll stay sharp. Attention is like energy. It grows where you direct it. Protecting your focus also means managing your energy. When you're tired, hungry, or burned out, you're easier to distract. Rest isn't laziness, it's preparation. Take care of your body so your mind can perform. You can't focus with an empty tank. You can't give your best when you're running on fumes. Focus thrives on balance. Each time you resist a distraction, you strengthen your mental muscle. It's like training your attention to obey you instead of everything around you. The first few days are hard. You'll want to give in. You'll feel restless. But if you stay consistent, you'll notice something amazing. Your ability to concentrate grows. What once felt impossible becomes natural. That's how you build a focused mind, one decision at a time. Distraction also kills creativity. The best ideas don't come when your attention is scattered. They come in quiet moments when your mind is fully present. That's why some of the greatest thinkers, writers, and creators worked in solitude. They understood that distraction isn't just about lost time. It's about lost depth. If you want to do meaningful work, you have to go deep. The truth is, every distraction is a test. It asks you, how badly do you want what you said you wanted? Most people fail that test daily. They talk about goals, but choose entertainment over effort. They say they want progress, but choose comfort over discipline. If you really want something, you prove it with focus. Your attention is the price you pay for progress. When you protect your focus, you protect your future. Because every hour you waste on distraction is an hour you could have used to build something lasting. You'll never get those hours back. The best time to start focusing is now. You don't need to wait for motivation. You just need to decide that your attention matters more than your impulses. You'll find that focus isn't something you keep. It's something you fight for. Every day, distractions will try to take it. Every day, you'll have to guard it again. But over time, it becomes part of who you are. You become someone who finishes, someone who follows through, someone who doesn't get lost in noise. The people who succeed in this world aren't necessarily the smartest or most talented. They're the ones who learn how to protect their focus fiercely. They know how to say no to what doesn't matter, so they can say yes to what does. They understand that distraction is not just a thief of time, it's a thief of potential. So decide today that your focus is sacred. Turn off what doesn't serve you. Walk away from what drains you. Create time for what truly matters. Give your full attention to your goals, your growth, your future. Because when your focus is clear, your progress becomes unstoppable.
Number 5. Destroy the enemy of fear by moving before you feel ready. Fear is the biggest gatekeeper between who you are and who you could become. It waits at the edge of every decision that matters. It makes you second guess your ability, your worth, your next move. Fear has one goal: to keep you still. It tells you stories that sound true. It whispers that you might fail, that people might laugh, that you might not be enough. And if you listen, it wins. But the only way to destroy fear is to move before you feel ready. Because the truth is, you will never feel ready. Readiness is a lie. Fear tells you to keep you waiting. It says once you're stronger, once you have more time, once you have more money, once you have more confidence, then you can start. But that moment never comes. Fear doesn't fade with time. It fades with action. Every time you move forward while scared, you take away its power. Every time you act, fear loses its control over you. Waiting for courage is just another form of hesitation. Courage doesn't come before the act. It's born in the act. You might think you need confidence to take action. You don't. Confidence comes after action, not before. Fear thrives in silence and planning. It feeds on delay. The longer you wait, the heavier it grows. You start imagining every possible failure, every judgment, every setback, and soon your imagination becomes the enemy. The mind starts to believe what it creates. But when you move, even a little, you shift your mind from imagination to experience, and experience breaks the spell of fear. People often think fear means stop. It doesn't. Fear means you're standing on the edge of growth. You're in front of something that matters. That's why it feels so uncomfortable. Fear doesn't show up when you're wasting time. It shows up when you're about to change something important. It's proof that you're alive, that you care, that you're stretching your limits. So instead of running from it, use it. Let fear be your signal that you're in the right place. The people you admire, the leaders, creators, and builders, they didn't wait for fear to disappear. They moved with it. They spoke while their voices shook. They tried things they weren't sure they could do. They acted before they knew the outcome. That's how they learned, improved, and grew. The difference between the people who dream and the people who live their dreams isn't fear. It's movement. One acts in spite of fear. The other hides behind it. Fear disguises itself as logic. It makes excuses sound smart. It tells you to wait for the right time, to gather a little more information, to be practical. But all it's really saying is, don't move. Logic has its place, but when it's driven by fear, it becomes limitation. Progress doesn't come from perfect condition. It comes from motion. Messy, imperfect, real motion. You learn more from one honest step forward than from 1,000 hours of worrying. The first move is always the hardest, because it breaks the mental wall. The wall isn't real, but it feels real. It's made of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. The only way to break it is to walk through it. Once you take that first action, the wall starts to crumble. Suddenly you see that it wasn't as tall as you thought. You realize that most of the fear lived in your mind, not in the world. When you move before you feel ready, something unexpected happens. Your mind adjusts. It catches up to your courage. You start to see yourself differently. You stop thinking like someone who might and start thinking like someone who does. That shift is what builds inner strength. You no longer see fear as a stop sign. You see it as part of the process. Fear often hides behind comfort. It tells you that staying where you are is safer. But safety has a cost. The cost of potential. Every time you avoid a challenge, you reinforce your limit. You train your mind to retreat instead of rise. And once that becomes a pattern, fear no longer needs to hold you back. You'll do it yourself. The way to break that pattern is through motion. Not perfect motion, just motion. You don't need to take huge steps. Start small but consistent. Send the message. Apply for the job. Start the project. Make the call. Speak your truth. Each action teaches you something fear never could. It teaches you that most of what you were afraid of doesn't happen. And even when it does, it's rarely as bad as your imagination made it. The pain of failure fades fast, but the pain of never trying stays with you. When you act, you build evidence. You show yourself that you can survive fear, that you can function even when you're uncertain. The more evidence you collect, the less control fear has. You start to trust yourself. You start to believe that you can handle whatever comes next. That belief becomes your anchor. You stop waiting for perfect timing and start creating progress out of imperfect moments. Fear can't survive in motion. It needs your stillness to grow. It needs your overthinking to stay alive. Once you move, you starve it. You take away its food source. Hesitation. That's why people who keep moving forward eventually seem fearless. They're not fearless. They've just built the habit of acting faster than their fear can stop. They've trained themselves to lead with action instead of emotion. The problem with waiting to feel ready is that readiness never arrives fully formed. The mind always finds another reason to delay. There's always something missing. More skill, more time, more clarity. But life doesn't reward waiting. It rewards movement. When you move, you gain clarity. When you move, you gain skill. When you move, you gain confidence. All the things you think you need before starting.
only show up after you start. Fear will tell you that failing means you're not good enough. That's not true. Failing means you're in the game. It means you're trying something that matters. It means you're learning faster than those who are still waiting. Every mistake brings you closer to mastery. Every uncomfortable step sharpens you. You don't grow by avoiding fear. You grow by walking straight through it. When you face fear directly, you realize it's not the end. It's the beginning. It's the doorway to every breakthrough you've ever wanted. Behind every fear is something valuable. Freedom, growth, strength, truth. But you only discover it by moving forward. You can't think your way through fear. You have to walk through it. The people who never move before they feel ready live lives filled with regret. They spend their days thinking about what they could have done, what they should have tried, what might have been. Regret hurts more than fear ever could. Fear fades after you act. Regret grows stronger the longer you wait. When you realize that, you understand that the real danger isn't failure. It's inaction. You might think courage feels like power. It doesn't. Courage often feels like trembling hands, a racing heart, and uncertainty. But courage isn't about how you feel. It's about what you do in spite of how you feel. You can be scared and still move. You can be unsure and still act. You can be shaking and still step forward. Courage is choosing progress over comfort. Again and again. Fear doesn't disappear with age, success, or experience. It just changes shape. Every new level of growth brings new fears. That's why learning to act before you feel ready is one of the most important skills you can build. Once you master that, you can face anything. You stop being paralyzed by what might happen and start being driven by what could happen if you try. Every time you move, you rewrite your story. You stop being the person who hesitates and start becoming the person who acts. You stop being someone who lets fear decide your fate and start becoming someone who writes their own future. That's real freedom. Not the absence of fear, but the ability to move forward in its presence. The next time fear shows up, and it will, don't wait for confidence. Don't wait for calm. Don't wait for certainty. Move. Take the step your mind says you're not ready for. Do it scared. Do it shaking. Do it unprepared. Because every time you move before you feel ready, you build a new truth inside you. That fear has no real power unless you give it some. The life you want is waiting on the other side of movement. Not the perfect moment. Not the perfect plan. Just move. Start before you're ready. Speak before you're certain. Try before you're confident. You'll stumble, you'll learn, and you'll rise. But most importantly, you'll prove to yourself that you were capable all along. And that's how you destroy the enemy of fear. By refusing to wait for permission to live.
Number 6. Eliminate the enemy of pride by staying open to being wrong. Pride blinds you. It convinces you that you're always right, that your way is the best way, that no one can teach you anything new. Pride is subtle. It hides behind confidence. It disguises itself as strength, but it quietly blocks your growth. The truth is, pride isn't power. It's a wall that keeps wisdom out. You can't learn if you already believe you know everything. You can't grow if you refuse to admit that you might be wrong. The people who go the farthest in life are not the ones who know the most. They're the ones who stay open to learning the most. Being open to being wrong doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It means you care more about truth than ego. It means you'd rather improve than just appear right. Pride says, I already know. Growth says, I want to understand more. Pride closes the door. Humility opens it. The moment you admit you don't know everything, you invite growth back into your life. Many people lose opportunities because pride keeps them from listening. They want to win arguments more than they want to win progress. They'd rather protect their image than protect their future. But life doesn't reward the one who always talks. It rewards the one who learns. The quiet listener often gets ahead of the loud talker because they're busy absorbing, not defending. Pride makes you defend the old version of yourself. Humility helps you create a better one. If you want to defeat pride, you have to stop needing to be right all the time. The truth doesn't care about your feelings. The truth will make you uncomfortable, but it will also make you free. The hardest moment for a proud person is the one where they realize they caused their own problem. But that moment, that painful honesty, is the turning point. Because once you can say, I was wrong, you regain control. You stop being trapped by your ego and start being guided by reality. You can't fix what you won't face. Pride keeps people stuck in denial.
It makes them blame others, circumstances, or luck. It's easier to say, they didn't understand me, than to admit, I could have done better. But the more you avoid responsibility, the more powerless you become. Owning your mistakes doesn't break you. It builds you. It sharpens your awareness, strengthens your character, and earns you respect. People trust those who can admit their flaws and still move forward. Humility doesn't mean putting yourself down. It means seeing yourself clearly, your strengths and your weaknesses. It means knowing that you can be both confident and teachable at the same time. The most powerful people in the world never stop learning. They ask questions. They seek feedback. They listen even to those with less experience, because they understand that wisdom can come from anywhere. Pride keeps you rigid. Humility keeps you flexible. And flexibility is what allows you to grow when life changes. Pride often shows up when we feel insecure. It's a defense mechanism to hide uncertainty. We pretend we know more than we do, because admitting otherwise feels vulnerable. But pretending doesn't make you strong. It keeps you small. Growth begins when you stop pretending. When you can look someone in the eye and say, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. You step into real strength. That kind of honesty takes courage. Being open to being wrong doesn't mean you doubt yourself. It means you value truth over ego. It means you're more interested in getting it right than being right. That mindset changes how you deal with feedback. Most people get defensive when they're corrected. They argue, justify, or deflect. But the wise pause and listen. They ask, what can I take from this? They understand that feedback is not an attack. It's a mirror showing you something you might not see. When pride runs your life, every disagreement feels like a threat. You stop collaborating, you stop listening, and you start isolating. You surround yourself with people who only agree with you because disagreement hurts your ego. But growth doesn't live in agreement. It lives in challenge. You need people who can tell you the truth, even when it stings. You need to hear what you don't want to hear. That's how you improve. The moment you only listen to praise, you stop earning it. There's a difference between confidence and arrogance. Confidence says, I can learn this. Arrogance says, I already know that. Confidence builds connection. Arrogance builds distance. People respect confidence because it's grounded in growth. They resist arrogance because it's rooted in insecurity. The proud isolate themselves from help, but the humble attract it. Pride also limits creativity. When you think you already have the best ideas, you stop exploring new ones. You stop taking advice, experimenting and evolving. But innovation comes from curiosity, and curiosity only lives in an open mind. The best ideas often come from the moments you admit, I might be wrong about this. That's when your perspective widens. That's when real progress begins. Every person who ever grew beyond average had to defeat pride. They had to say, maybe there's a better way. They had to stay teachable, even after success. Because pride doesn't just attack beginners. It attacks achievers too. The higher you climb, the easier it is to think you don't need to learn anymore. That's when pride becomes most dangerous. The moment you stop learning, you start declining. Success has ruined more people than failure ever did, because it made them too proud to change. Staying open to being wrong keeps you honest with yourself. It makes you question your habits, your assumptions, and your patterns. It keeps your mind sharp. When you can admit mistakes quickly, you save time. You adjust faster. You correct the course before damage grows. But when pride rules, you double down on the wrong direction. You defend bad choices just to protect your image. That's how small mistakes turn into big failures. The most successful people in the world surround themselves with people who challenge them. They hire mentors, coaches, and advisors who are willing to say, you're wrong here. They understand that growth depends on perspective. You can't see your own blind spots, but others can. If you're too proud to listen, you'll keep crashing into the same walls. Being open to being wrong doesn't weaken authority. It strengthens credibility. People trust leaders who can say, I was mistaken, and here's what I learned. It shows character. It shows self-awareness. It shows that you value progress more than pride. The ability to change your mind when presented with new information is a sign of intelligence, not weakness. Sometimes pride hides in silence. You know you made a mistake, but you refuse to admit it. You hope it'll fade away, or that no one will notice. But that silence eats at you. It drains your energy and self-respect. The longer you avoid owning it, the heavier it gets. The moment you say, "I was wrong," the weight lifts. Humility frees you. Pride chains you. If you want to stay sharp, stay humble. If you want to keep growing, stay curious. Never reach a point where you think you've arrived. Every stage of life brings new lessons. And if you're not open to them, you'll miss them. You don't lose anything by admitting you were wrong. You gain wisdom, peace, and growth. You gain clarity that pride will never give you. Every time you choose humility over pride, you evolve. You see things you couldn't see before. You connect better with others. You create stronger relationships. You make better decisions. You stop reacting to correction and start responding to truth. That's maturity. That's strength. Pride wants you to prove you're right. Wisdom wants you to learn what's right. Choose wisdom, because in the end, life doesn't reward those who never make mistakes. It rewards those who are honest enough to learn from them. The greatest progress you'll ever make starts the moment you say, "I was wrong, but I'm willing to make it right."
Number 7. Reject the enemy of laziness by keeping promises to yourself. Laziness is not just about doing nothing. It's about breaking the quiet promises you make to yourself. It's about saying, "I'll start tomorrow," knowing deep down that tomorrow never comes. Laziness doesn't always look like lying on a couch all day. Sometimes it looks like being busy with all the wrong things. Sometimes it's scrolling through distractions instead of doing the work that matters. Laziness is the silent habit of choosing comfort over commitment. And it's one of the greatest enemies of progress. When you make a promise to yourself and don't keep it, something inside you breaks. You start losing trust in your own word. You tell yourself you'll wake up earlier, but you hit snooze. You tell yourself you'll start the workout, but you push it to another day. You tell yourself you'll focus, but you drift into another distraction. Each broken promise chips away at your self-belief. Eventually, you stop believing yourself at all. You become someone who talks big, but follows through small. The cure for laziness isn't motivation, it's discipline. Motivation fades, but discipline stays. Discipline means you do what you said you'd do long after the excitement is gone. It's the ability to show up when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, when no one even knows. That's how you build self-respect. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you prove that your word means something. And the more you prove it, the stronger you become. Laziness grows in the space between intention and action. You think about what needs to be done. You plan it. You even feel good imagining the result. But you never move. The mind confuses thinking about progress with actually making it. You get the satisfaction of planning without the reward of finishing. That's why keeping promises to yourself isn't about dreaming more. It's about doing more. Action cures laziness faster than any speech, any book, or any motivation. The truth is, laziness is not about lacking time. It's about lacking priorities. You have time for what matters most to you. If you keep saying you don't have time to improve your health, your career, or your mindset, what you really mean is you haven't made it important enough yet. Laziness hides behind excuses like "I'm tired," "I'm busy," or "I'll do it later." But later is a trap. Later becomes never. When you keep promises to yourself, you start building momentum. The first time it's hard. The second time it's a little easier. The third time it becomes part of who you are. You start to trust yourself again. You stop needing external motivation because you've created internal credibility. You know that if you say you'll do something, you will. That kind of self-trust changes everything. It's the foundation of success. People often think laziness is harmless because it doesn't hurt anyone else directly. But laziness quietly kills your confidence, your potential, and your future. It makes you tolerate mediocrity. It turns days into weeks, weeks into months. And before you realize it, years have passed, and you're still talking about what you were going to do. Life doesn't pause for your hesitation. You either move or you fall behind. To reject laziness, you must start small. You don't have to transform your whole life overnight. Start by keeping one promise today. Wake up when you said you would. Complete the task you've been avoiding. Spend 10 minutes improving yourself.
That's how momentum begins. Small actions repeated daily destroy the grip of laziness. Each time you follow through, you teach your brain that you can be trusted. That's how discipline is built. One small win at a time. You can't wait to feel ready, because readiness never arrives fully. The people who achieve things are not the ones who always feel motivated. They're the ones who show up even when they don't feel like it. They push through the resistance. They don't negotiate with laziness. They know that comfort today leads to regret tomorrow. Every time you delay your effort, you're choosing short-term ease over long-term pride. Keeping promises to yourself isn't about perfection. It's about consistency. You will have off days. You will fail sometimes. But the difference between lazy and disciplined people is not that one never fails. It's that one keeps coming back. When you break a promise, acknowledge, don't excuse it, learn from it, and make the next decision count. That's how you rebuild integrity. That's how you get stronger. Laziness often shows up as waiting for the right time. You tell yourself that when conditions are better, when you have more energy, when the situation improves, you'll finally start. But that's another lie laziness tells. The right time is never coming. You create the right time. By acting now, every delay weakens your will. Every action strengthens it. The only way to win this battle is to start when you don't feel like starting. You must also learn to control the small decisions, because that's where laziness wins or loses. It's not about the big goals. It's about the daily choices. Do you open your phone or open your book? Do you hit snooze or get up? Do you watch another episode or finish your work? Those tiny moments decide who you become. Laziness dies in the details. If you want to break the cycle of laziness, you must build habits that support discipline. Create a structure for your day. Set clear goals and deadlines. Remove distractions from your environment. Make it harder to drift off track. Discipline isn't about willpower. It's about creating systems that make good choices easier. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your habits. Every promise you keep adds a layer of self-respect. You start to feel proud of yourself again. You look in the mirror and see someone who follows through. That's how real confidence grows. Not from words, not from others' validation, but from evidence. Every action you take becomes proof that you're capable of more. Over time, laziness loses its voice because you've built a new identity. A person who finishes what they start. There will always be days when you feel tired, discouraged, or uninspired. Those are the days that matter most, because those are the days when keeping your promises counts the most. Anyone can show up when it's easy. Growth happens when you show up when it's not. You train your mind to act out of principle, not mood. That's the difference between people who talk about discipline and people who live it. Laziness isn't defeated in one day. It's defeated daily. Every morning you decide whether to stay the same or move forward. Every evening, you decide whether you're proud of what you did. It's not about being busy, it's about being accountable. The greatest form of self-respect is keeping your word to yourself. Because when you can trust your own promises, you stop needing to prove anything to anyone else. You owe it to yourself to stop settling for half effort. You owe it to yourself to see what happens when you stay consistent. Keeping promises to yourself is not just about success. It's about self-worth. It's about knowing you are the kind of person who follows through. That knowledge gives you quiet confidence that no one can take away. Rejecting laziness isn't about working all the time. It's about showing up for your purpose. It's about valuing your potential enough to act on it. It's about realizing that every hour you waste, you never get back. You can rest, but don't retreat. You can pause, but don't quit. Laziness wants you to forget your power. Discipline reminds you that it's still there. So start today. Keep one promise to yourself, then another, then another. Build momentum that laziness can't touch. You don't need permission to be great. You just need to show up for yourself every day. And when you do, you'll find that keeping promises isn't just how you fight laziness. It's how you build a life you can be proud of.
Number 8, conquer the enemy of comparison by measuring your own progress only. Comparison is a thief that steals the joy out of progress. It makes you blind to your own growth because you're too busy looking at someone else's result. You start feeling like you're behind, like you're not enough, like your effort doesn't count. But what you forget is that you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. You're judging your journey by their destination. The truth is, the only person you should ever measure yourself against is the person you were yesterday. Real progress has nothing to do with others. It's about becoming a better version of yourself every single day. When you live in comparison, you live in constant frustration. You'll always find someone who's ahead, someone who seems more talented, more confident, more successful. And when you focus on them, you lose sight of your own lane. You start doubting your worth. You start rushing your process. You start working for validation instead of purpose. Comparison doesn't push you forward, it pushes you off balance. Every person has a different path, a different rhythm, a different starting point. Some people begin with more support, others with more struggle. Some rise quickly, others grow slowly, but steadily. Comparing yourself to them is unfair because your circumstances, timing, and battles are not the same. You don't know what they've gone through or what they've sacrificed to get where they are. You only see the surface, not the story. And chasing someone else's story makes you lose your own. When you measure your progress by others, you start performing for attention instead of growth. You do things to impress instead of improve. You start setting goals based on what looks good, not what feels right. That's why comparison is dangerous. It shifts your motivation. You start wanting to win against people instead of winning against your old self. And when your purpose gets replaced by competition, your peace disappears. To conquer comparison, you must build awareness. Notice when it shows up. It's often quiet. It comes when you scroll through social media, when you see someone get what you want, when you hear someone praised for something you've worked hard for. The mind starts whispering, "Why not me? Why am I not there yet?" In that moment, you have to stop and remind yourself, their success isn't your failure. Their progress doesn't take anything away from you. Someone else's win doesn't mean you're losing. Life isn't a race, it's a journey. When you focus on your own progress, something powerful happens. You start feeling proud again. You start noticing how far you've come instead of how far you have to go. You start appreciating your small wins, your effort, your discipline. You realize that growth isn't measured by speed, but by consistency. Every step forward counts, no matter how slow. The more you focus on your own lane, the more momentum you build. Comparison makes you impatient. It tricks you into thinking success is supposed to happen fast. But real growth takes time. It takes effort, failure, and patience. You can't rush your journey because someone else got there quicker. You have to trust your pace. The same sun that melts wax hardens clay. What works for someone else might not work for you, and that's okay. Your timing is not wrong, just because it's different. You can't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 20. They've been writing their story longer. They've made mistakes you haven't faced yet. Instead of feeling discouraged, learn from them. Let their journey inspire you, not define you. Ask, what can I take from their experience to improve mine? That's how you turn comparison into growth. When you start measuring your own progress, you begin to notice things that comparison blinded you to. The quiet victories, the changes in your mindset, the habits you've built, the fears you've conquered. You start realizing that you're not the same person you were last year, or even last month. That realization fuels confidence, and confidence kills comparison. Comparison also distorts your sense of gratitude. You start overlooking what you have because you're fixated on what you don't. Gratitude restores that balance. When you take time to appreciate your life, your journey, your blessings, comparison loses its grip. You stop chasing what others have and start building what's yours. Gratitude shifts your focus from lack to progress. The danger of comparison is that it can turn admiration into resentment. You see someone doing well, and instead of feeling inspired, you feel small. That feeling doesn't come from their success. It comes from your self-doubt. The cure isn't to tear others down. It's to lift yourself up. The next time you feel envy, remind yourself that you're capable too. Use that energy to fuel your effort, not your bitterness. When you compare less, you perform better. You think clearer. You make decisions based on purpose, not pressure. You stop wasting energy worrying about what others think. You
You stop adjusting your goals to match trend. You start living with direction instead of distraction. Focused people don't compete. They create. They stay in their lane. And that's why they keep moving forward. Every person you compare yourself to has doubts too. They have insecurities, failures, and weaknesses you can't see. The same way you look at them and think they have it all together. Someone else looks at you and thinks the same. Everyone's fighting a battle you don't see. So instead of comparing, connect. Learn from each other. Encourage each other. Growth doesn't have to be a competition. It can be a community. To truly conquer comparison, set personal standards. Define what success means to you. Not to your family, not to your friends, not to society. To you, what makes you feel fulfilled? What kind of life do you want to build? When you know your own definition of success, other people's paths stop distracting you. You stop chasing approval and start chasing alignment. Start tracking your progress intentionally. Write down your goals, your habits, your wins, and your lessons. Look back often. Not to criticize, but to see the evidence of growth. You'll realize that the progress you thought was invisible is actually there. That simple act of reflection builds belief. It reminds you that you're moving forward, even when it doesn't feel like it. Comparison thrives when you focus on outcomes. It fades when you focus on effort. You can't always control results, but you can control how hard you work, how often you show up, and how you respond to setbacks. When you judge yourself based on effort instead of achievement, you free yourself from constant disappointment. You begin to enjoy the process again. The truth is, comparison is endless. No matter how much you achieve, there will always be someone doing more, having more, earning more. If you don't stop comparing now, you'll spend your whole life chasing an invisible finish line. Progress isn't about beating others. It's about outgrowing who you were. That's a race you can actually win, because you control it completely. When you measure your progress only against yourself, you build peace. You stop competing for approval and start competing for improvement. You stop doubting your journey and start trusting it. You start focusing on what you can control: your effort, your choices, your attitude. And that's where real power comes from. Every day you have two choices: look outward and feel less, or look inward and grow more. One drains your confidence, the other builds it. One keeps you chasing others, the other keeps you chasing purpose. Choose the second. Choose your lane. Because the truth is, no one else is living your life. No one else has your experiences, your challenges, or your dreams. The only person who can truly measure your progress is you. So conquer the enemy of comparison. Focus on your steps, your growth, your improvement. And when you do, you'll finally find what comparison can never give you: peace, pride, and purpose in your own journey.
Number 9, silence the enemy of negativity. By speaking belief into your own mind, negativity is a poison that spreads quietly. It doesn't arrive shouting. It creeps in through small thoughts you ignore. It starts with one doubt, one complaint, one criticism of yourself or your life. And before long, that negativity becomes your language, your habit, your way of seeing the world. You stop believing in what's possible because you've trained your mind to focus on what's wrong. You start expecting failure, disappointment, and rejection before you even try. That's the power of negativity. It doesn't just ruin your mood, it limits your potential. But there's one thing strong enough to silence it: belief. When you start speaking belief into your own mind, you take control back from the thoughts that have been controlling you. Your mind listens to you more than it listens to anyone else. The words you repeat become the script of your life. If you tell yourself you can't, your mind finds reasons to agree. If you tell yourself you can, your mind begins to look for ways to make it happen. Every time you speak, you're planting something in your own head. The question is, are you planting weeds or seeds? Negativity grows fast, but belief grows stronger if you keep feeding it. Most people don't even realize how negative they've become. They say things like, "I'm not good enough. Nothing ever works out for me," or "I'll never change." They think they're just being realistic, But that's not realism. It's self-sabotage. You can't speak failure every day and expect success. You can't speak fear every day and expect courage. The mind takes what you give it and multiplies it. If you keep feeding it doubt, it will drown your confidence. If you feed it belief, it will start building courage, hope, and strength. Negativity doesn't just come from others. It often starts inside. The inner critic is the loudest voice most people hear. It tells you you're too late, too old, too inexperienced. It reminds you of your mistakes and ignores your victories. It exaggerates your flaws and downplays your strengths. The longer you let that voice talk, the smaller you start to feel. But the truth is, that voice isn't you. It's the conditioning of fear, disappointment, and past hurt. You don't have to believe it just because you hear it. Speaking belief into your own mind means creating a new conversation with yourself. It means choosing words that build instead of destroy. Instead of saying, I can't do this, say, I can figure this out. Instead of saying, I always fail, say, I'm still learning. Instead of saying, I don't deserve better, say, I'm working toward better. Those words may sound simple, but they change how your mind sees the world. They shift your focus from limitation to possibility. You have to remember that negativity is loud, but not strong. It gets attention because it's dramatic. It shouts the worst case scenario before giving reality a chance. But it doesn't have real power unless you give it your agreement. Every time you argue for your limitations, you strengthen them. Every time you speak belief, you weaken fear's grip. You can't always control the first thought that enters your mind, but you can always control the second one. The second thought is where power lives. You silence negativity by speaking louder than it, not in volume, but in consistency. You can't say one positive thing in the morning and then let negative talk dominate the rest of the day. You have to keep choosing belief over and over until it becomes your default. That's not pretending everything is perfect. It's reminding yourself that you're capable of handling what's not. Belief doesn't deny reality. It gives you strength to improve it. The words you say shape the way you feel. When you speak belief, your energy rises. You stand taller. You think clearer. You move with purpose. When you speak negativity, your energy collapses. You become tired, distracted, and doubtful. The difference between a good day and a bad one often starts with what you say to yourself when you wake up. Do you tell yourself it's another hard day? Or do you tell yourself it's another chance to grow? Your words write your emotions before the world even begins to test you. Negativity feeds on repetition. If you've been talking down to yourself for years, it will take effort to replace that voice, but you can do it. Start by catching the thoughts that drain you. Write them down. Look at them honestly. Ask yourself, would I speak like this to someone I care about? If the answer is no, then stop saying it to yourself. Treat your own mind with the same care you'd give to someone you love. Replace those thoughts with words that support your growth. Belief is not arrogance. It's self-respect. It's recognizing that you're capable of improvement, capable of progress, capable of rising after mistakes. It's reminding yourself that you've survived harder days and you'll survive the next ones too. Belief isn't about thinking you'll never fail. It's about knowing that failure won't define you. That mindset changes everything. It makes you stronger, calmer, and more determined. Negativity can come from people too. There will always be someone ready to tell you that you can't, that you're dreaming too big, that it's safer to stay small. Don't let their fears become your beliefs. People project their limits onto others. You have to learn to separate their voice from your own truth. The more you speak belief into yourself, the less power those voices have. Eventually, their doubt becomes background noise, and your inner voice becomes your guide. You have to be intentional about what you let into your mind, your environment, your social media, your conversations. All of it shapes your thinking. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, your mind will absorb it. Protect your space. Spend time with people who lift you, not those who drain you. Read words that inspire, not ones that discourage. What you feed your mind becomes your mindset. The habit of speaking belief is built through daily practice. You can start by setting time aside every day to speak truth into yourself. Not empty affirmations, but grounded statements.
based on effort and growth. Tell yourself, I am learning to handle challenges better. I am becoming more disciplined. I am proud of how far I've come. These are not fantasies. They're reminders of your reality and progress. The more you say them, the more your brain starts to believe them, and the more your behavior aligns with them. When you believe in yourself, you act differently. You take more chances. You approach obstacles with calm instead of panic. You look for solutions instead of reasons to quit. Belief builds momentum. Negativity keeps you frozen. The difference between someone who moves forward and someone who stays stuck often comes down to the story they repeat to themselves every day. You can't silence negativity by ignoring it. You silence it by overpowering it. When it says, you're not enough, you say, I'm improving every day. When it says, you'll never make it, you say, I'm still in the process of making it. When it says, you can't handle this, you say, I've handled harder before. The goal isn't to never hear negative thoughts. It's to never let them decide what you do next. Every word you speak is either building your future or breaking it. You are the author of your internal dialogue. If you want to change your life, start by changing your words. Speak belief until it becomes truth. Speak strength until it becomes habit. Speak hope until it becomes normal. The more you practice this, the less room negativity will have to live inside you. Negativity will always try to return. It will wait for your weakest moment. But if you've built the habit of speaking belief, you'll know how to handle it. You'll recognize its voice and choose differently. You'll remind yourself that you've been through doubt before, and you didn't stop then. You're not stopping now. That's how you build mental strength. Not by never feeling negative, but by refusing to surrender to it. So start today. Catch one negative thought and replace it with one word of belief. Keep doing it until your mind learns who's in charge. You can't control everything in life, but you can control what you tell yourself about it. And when your self-talk becomes your source of power, negativity won't stand a chance, because belief, once spoken with conviction, becomes louder than every doubt trying to hold you back.
Number 10. Overcome the enemy of comfort. Again, before it traps you quietly. Comfort is dangerous because it feels good while it destroys you slowly. It doesn't announce its arrival. It just makes you settle a little more each day. You stop pushing yourself. You stop trying new things. You stop questioning your routines. You tell yourself you've earned the rest. You've done enough. You deserve a break. And you do deserve rest. But comfort isn't rest. Comfort is staying in the same place long after rest is over. It's the quiet trap that convinces you progress can wait until tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into next week, next month, next year, and before you know it, the fire you once had starts to fade. The reason comfort is so dangerous is because it doesn't feel like an enemy. It feels like safety. It feels like peace. But what it really gives you is stagnation. The world keeps moving forward, but comfort keeps you standing still. It whispers, you've done enough, when there's more inside you. It tells you, you're fine here, when you know deep down that you're not. Comfort kills more dreams than failure ever could. Because failure wakes you up, but comfort puts you to sleep. When you start to grow, life becomes uncomfortable. You face challenges. You feel pressure. You doubt yourself. And that's when comfort calls. It offers you an easier path, one with less risk, less effort, less fear. That's how it traps you. It shows up when you're tired, when you're unsure, when you've been working hard and haven't seen results yet. It says, take it easy. And for a moment, it feels right. But the moment you choose ease over effort, your momentum starts to slip away. The mind gets weaker when it isn't challenged. Discipline fades when it isn't used. Growth dies when it isn't fed. You have to understand that comfort doesn't announce the moment it becomes a cage. It happens gradually. One missed workout turns into a week. One day off from your goals turns into a habit. One decision to play it safe turns into years of regret. That's how comfort traps you quietly. It convinces you that you're just taking a short break. But the break never ends. The longer you stay in it, the harder it becomes to leave. Overcoming comfort means learning to recognize it before it pulls you in too deep. The warning signs are always there. You stop feeling challenged. You
You stop setting goals that scare you. You avoid feedback because it makes you uncomfortable. You start repeating the same routines without questioning if they're still helping you grow. That's when you need to wake up and ask yourself, am I growing or am I just coasting? Growth feels alive. Coasting feels numb. The people who achieve lasting success aren't the ones who avoid comfort completely. They're the ones who keep outgrowing it. Every time they reach a new level, they raise their standards again. They celebrate, but they don't settle. They understand that comfort is temporary peace with long-term cost. Growth, on the other hand, is temporary discomfort with long-term reward. The more you train yourself to step into discomfort, the more unstoppable you become. Comfort will always be there. Wait, it's the easy choice, the familiar path, the soft voice that tells you you've done enough. But every time you choose it, you trade potential for convenience. You can't build strength in comfort. You can't discover who you truly are when life is too easy. You find yourself when you stretch yourself, when you take on the challenge that makes your stomach turn, when you face the thing that scares you, when you do the work that most people avoid. That's where growth happens. If you want to live fully, you must keep breaking your own limit. Comfort wants you to stay predictable. Growth wants you to keep evolving. Every time you do something new, learn a new skill, meet new people, take on a harder goal, you're proving to yourself that you're not afraid to move forward. Every step outside your comfort zone builds a version of you that's stronger, sharper, and more confident. The truth is, comfort doesn't feel dangerous until you look back and realize how much time it's stolen. You'll remember the years when you could have done more, could have tried harder, could have pushed further but didn't. You'll remember how comfort made you think you were okay, when really you were shrinking. Don't let that happen. Don't let comfort write your story. Life is too short to spend it sitting in the same safe corner. The moment you start to feel comfortable, it's time to shake things up. Change your routine. Raise your goals. Do something that challenges your body, your mind, your habit. Growth requires tension. The same way muscles grow through resistance, your character grows through challenge. If you're not stretching yourself, you're not improving. The more you avoid discomfort, the smaller your world becomes. Comfort can also come from success. After achieving something meaningful, many people stop pushing. They think they've arrived. They enjoy the satisfaction so much that they forget what got them there. Effort, consistency, and hunger. Comfort after success is even more dangerous than comfort after failure, because it's disguised as achievement. You start protecting your image instead of improving your reality. You become more interested in maintaining your level than reaching a new one. That's how comfort traps even the accomplished. It makes them prisoners of their past victories. To overcome comfort again, you have to stay hungry. You have to keep a beginner's mindset. Even when you've won, there's always something to learn, something to refine, something to build. The moment you stop learning, you start declining. No matter how far you've come, stay curious, stay humble, stay willing to do what others won't. That's how you keep your edge. You must also learn to see discomfort differently. Most people run from it because it feels unpleasant. But discomfort is not punishment. It's proof of progress. When you're uncomfortable, it means you're changing. It means you're moving into new territory. The body resists it. The mind complains. But that's the signal that you're stretching beyond your limits. Don't fear that feeling. Chase it. It's the path to your next breakthrough. Comfort often convinces you that staying still is safe. But safety doesn't exist in stillness. Life changes whether you do or not. The world doesn't pause because you've decided to stop growing. Opportunities move on. Skills become outdated. Energy fades. The safest thing you can do is to keep evolving. Movement is protection. Growth is security. Comfort gives you neither. It just gives you temporary relief. Overcoming comfort isn't about punishing yourself. It's about respecting your potential. You owe it to yourself to see how far you can go. You owe it to yourself to find out what happens when you stop playing small. When you settle for comfort, you deny yourself that discovery. The most painful regret is not what you failed at. It's what you never tried. Start by doing one uncomfortable thing each day. It doesn't have to be massive. It could be waking up earlier, speaking your mind, working out when you don't want to, or tackling that task you've been avoiding. Each act of discomfort strengthens your will. Each challenge faced weakens the grip of comfort. You become mentally tougher, emotionally steadier, and more disciplined. Comfort will always return, whispering that you can take it easy again. That's why overcoming it is not a one-time victory. It's a lifelong commitment. You have to keep defeating it every time it tries to sneak back in. You have to stay alert to the moments when you start to relax too long, when you start to lower your standards, when you stop feeling hungry. The fight against comfort never ends. But neither does growth. You have to ask yourself regularly, am I proud of my effort today? Did I challenge myself? Did I do something that stretched my limits? If the answer is no too many days in a row, comfort has crept back in. Catch it early. Shake things up before it traps you quietly again. Progress doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who refuse to settle. The life you dream of won't come from comfort. It will come from consistent courage. You can't live fully while staying safe. You can't create meaning while avoiding challenge. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you move closer to becoming the person you're meant to be. That's how you stay alive inside, by never letting the easy path steal your fire. So fight it again, every day if you must. Refuse to let comfort become your resting place. Push your limits before they start defining you. Because if you don't overcome comfort, it will overcome you. And it won't happen loudly. It will happen quietly, one excuse at a time, until you wake up one day, realizing you've stopped growing. Don't wait for that day. Break the pattern now. Move again, reach again, and live with the kind of urgency that comfort can never understand. Progress isn't luck. It's a choice you make every single day. The moment you stop choosing growth, these 5 enemies, fear, doubt, excuses, distraction, and comfort, start taking over. They don't attack all at once. They creep in slowly, until you forget what it feels like to chase something bigger than yourself. But tonight you faced them. You listened. You saw the truth behind what's been holding you back. Now the question is simple. What will you do with it? You can walk away inspired for a moment, or you can walk away changed for good. Real progress begins the moment you decide to act, even in small steps, even when it's uncomfortable. Come back to this message. Whenever you feel yourself slipping back into the old pattern, remind yourself of what's at stake. Your growth, your peace, your future, because the fight against these 5 enemies never ends. But neither does your power to win.